Comes with a thing of balls of twine too.
Hey, get your camera out!
I got it. It's so freaking small. Oh no, it's a 6-stringer. Oh my God.
Don't get caught in that, you'll die.
I can see that. I can't believe everything on here is so plastic.
No, not everything.
Well, I mean, that's all metal. Dual auger. Well, that's the end of that one. Anyway, as you can see, it opens up for some seriously easy access. For the most part, it doesn't look much different, but it is. This actually is a lot quieter than the other one when it stuffs up in there, because I had it running and I tripped it. This is heavier. This is cast, where the other one was just punched out steel, or laser cut, or plasma cut is what I want to say. Same gearbox, same pump, same filter, but the tank is in a different spot. And the other thing is, they claim that this thing is a much cleaner baler. That is a triple reduction gearbox, like I said before, over the dual reduction gearbox, so it is easier on the tractor. The plunger turns at 48 strokes a minute instead of the other 47 strokes a minute, which is 1 stroke a minute faster than the Heston. But the biggest difference in this baler is not really anywhere else but right here in this pickup. I don't know why New Holland hasn't emphasized this in their videos, but here it is. Now, you can see in there that there's a dual auger drive, all right? And not only that does it have the dual auger drive, but it does have this paddle system here. And as that turns, it actually, any of the hay that would normally lift this portion, this wind guard up, and jam it, this thing here is going to actually force it into the packer fingers. So, you know, it's just going to go. Now, the other thing is, as I'm turning this, you can see the auger coming across, and the bottom auger is feeding. It is turning upwards, not downwards, whereas the old one turned downwards and created a pinch effect down there against the bottom of that pan. Now, the other thing is that I really am happy about is the position of the tines on the tine bar. The tines are longer and heavier, so they claim. Now, I don't see that there's much of a difference, but the tines are actually mounted on the tine bar to the bottom of the tine bar over the front of the tine bar, because the other ones were on the front of the tine bar, and when you smacked into something, these bands would bend and go in there and destroy the tines, and then you'd get a lot of chattering and noise. The other thing that I like is the roller wind guard, which is standard on this baler over the previous models in the United States. Anyways, I know in Europe they were standard there. The other thing, we got a nice little step, so you can, you know, open that up here and, you know, step up, and you can deal with the flywheel here a little better. As you can see, the flywheel is now massive in size. It is probably, I don't know, 8 inches bigger in circumference than the previous model. It weighs, I think, 585 pounds. It's about as heavy as that kid there that just took off running. Oh no, you're not 580 pounds? So anyways, the other thing is they moved this gauge here to hitch area, which I didn't think was going to be a good idea. But it turns out that I actually like where it's at, because I was in the tractor looking back and it's right here, and it's just right in your field of view. It needs some glycerin and it looks a little low, but you know, hey, what am I going to do? The jack has stayed the same, but these tires, if you see these tires, they are just, what did you say the height of these tires were, Tim? 41? 41 and a half inches tall from the bottom to the top. 41 and a half inches tall. The old ones were what, 35?
35 and a half.
35 and a half inches. So that gives you, you know, an extra 6 inches of height. Actually an extra 3 inches of height. All the way around, 3.5 inches or so. So that gives you that much more height. The lights are in a better position. They're down low instead of out here in your face where you can back into stuff. The ladder's magnetic. It flips up, which is nice because then you won't bend that thing. This is standard on the previous models too, is the roller chute, and this does have the Bailey jacked. New for this year on this model is this lockout, this needle lockout. When you're up top, and I'll show you that when I get up there, you open up the hood and it automatically locks the needle so it can't trip on you. This has brakes all the way around it. You can manually put this with this crank into park, which I'm not going to bother with because I don't need to be in park, but you can manually do it, or you can do it hydraulically as you're going down the road with the hydraulics on the tractor. Now I do have to call up the company that I bought it from and say, what the hell is this thing? I mean, look at the size of that. Nothing like that on my tractor. So anyway, so that's, you know, that's another thing that I got to talk about. The clutch, this clutch is the same as the one that was on the previous models. I guess it worked good for them. I didn't like it on the previous models, so what I did was I actually took this plate off and added a plate on the previous baler that I had and I just sold. Another thing I'm not too god-awful thrilled about is the size of this grease container. The grease gun is awesome, but the grease container now is probably 2/3 the size of the previous one on the previous baler. Now, the other thing that I really like and I see, as you can see, this is heavier and all this. The pre-charge chamber. Pre-charge chamber is actually bigger. It's a lot bigger. It takes a bigger, thicker slice. And I guess you can really put a lot of hay in this baler. You can go faster because the capacity of it, they say, is 20% bigger. So you got 20% more capacity in there, plus it's stroking 7 strokes a minute faster. That makes a big difference. They do have this little grease gun here. You put a cartridge in there and then you hook it up here and then you stuff it back in there. And that fills it up. Another really nice feature are these outlets. There's a light up top. It's a utility light. So you have lots and lots and lots of light up there. Yeah, I mean, that thing plugs in there and it's got this squiggly cord. I'll show you that when I get up there, but I really want to show you the drive system on this pickup. Now, there it is. So it comes out of here. Now there is a clutch in there. And it says that I'm supposed to grease that clutch every 100 hours. Well, that's all fine and dandy and everything, except for the fact that I can't get in there. Because there's a bolt, but it's under here in the back. So some engineer screwed that up. I don't know how the hell I'm going to get to it. But I'm probably going to maybe cut a hole in the back of this thing or something. Something so I can get in there. Really not that big of a deal unless I just take that one bolt out and just use these two here as the to hold it on. The oiling system is on the other side, and that just pumps oil through to these blocks here, which keep those chains lubricated. What's really nice about this model is it's open. I can actually get to these chains to tighten them. The other previous model had a really stupid screwed up nut that you came out greasier than a grease monkey, you know. It's really pretty lame. This one here is a good tightener also, and I'm pretty damn certain that this chain is made in China or India or something, so I'm not really thrilled about that. I doubt that it's going to last very long. Another major improvement is this guy. I mean, come on. It just really is a smart idea. You pull the pin, you move your wheel up and down, and there you go. But the con of this thing, and this is a non-biased opinion here, but I think this tire is stupid. Okay, why do I need ribs on that tire? I had a New Holland 2000 baler and it had a smooth tire, so when I made the corners, it didn't grab in and bite and, you know, tear the field up or even put any kind of pressure on here. And now I have this tire that's got these ribs on it that look like it's made to grab into the ground. So I may just get a hot knife and cut those ribs off of there. I think they're stupid. So that's a con part for me. I mean, I don't find any advantage to that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, the twine box. As you probably saw in the first part of this video, that my twine box, I'm not really thrilled with the way they've got it set up. But I did figure it out. I've got the blues are the top string, the reds are the bottom string. So as you can see, I've got 2 blues down in this bottom part of the box, and I've got 3 reds up at the top part of the box. So it's kind of a weird deal here. I would much rather have all the blues at the top and all the reds at the bottom, but of course I guess the engineers felt that they needed to make a symmetrical box instead of making an offset box, you know, because they could have cut one panel there or whatever. They didn't even have to do that. They could have just added a box down on the end there and changed but whatever. That's just engineers for you and designers. I wouldn't have done it that way. Now, my baler is female. She has a skirt, and you're not really supposed to lift up the skirt, but I'm going to. Look at all the room that you've got in there. If for some stupid reason those knotters screw up, and they don't generally screw up, but if that comes untied, like you didn't pay attention to the twine that's in the box, and lo and behold you run it out of twine, there's plenty of room to get in there and do what you need to do. Even with the brakes and everything, I know I really had a pain in the ass getting in here to do any greasing on the hubs and stuff, but the the spindles and stuff here are very easily accessible. Yeah, I think I got everything explained from the bottom side. Everything in the plunger is pretty much the same. The bail chambers, they did maintain the BB9080's bail chamber. It is the same. They fixed that part there. They made it heavier because that was a wear point right at the tip of my finger there, and it would just wear something terrible. So that's all good. The other thing is this baler has been made to produce an extremely tight bail. So what they did was they added a rail to the top here for strength, and even on the bottom side they added some strengthening steel there so that you could really crank the shit out of this thing and not have a problem. Yeah, I got another kid. These are my sister's kids. They're like Satan's little helpers. Did you see that? See what goes around comes around? Huh? You dancing and being a fool. So anyway, this I don't like. This stupid thing here. There's no lever. I got to get a wrench on that thing to turn it. Now, the previous model had a little tab, which I liked a lot. Now, as you could see, this thing here, when I picked that up, it bumped this, which actually disengaged the knotters. It cannot trip. It won't trip. The knotters are exactly the same as the ones in the BB9080. They didn't change them. They have super heavy duty knife arms, which the BB9080 had. And like I said in many videos, I made 13,910 bales in a year and a half with that baler, and it never ever missed a knot. Not to say that this one's gonna do that, but I'm just saying, if this knotter runs as flawlessly as that one did, I'm good forever. So anyways, they changed this hood. They turned it into a plastic hood, and it's directional. So when that airflow comes across there to clean the knotters out, it blows right on through. We'll come around here, and you can see it looks like a jet engine intake there. So they're really the same fans, they just are ducted fans. so it will accelerate the air much faster. Let's see, light wise, I have 2 permanent lights here that you don't move, whereas previous model only had this guy. Now this one here is controlled from in the cab on the computer. You can turn it on from in there, and then you just grab a hold of this thing here. Let's see, I can't get it out now because I'm lame. But you take this out, and it's got that squiggly wire, and you can plug that in any place there's a port on the baler. Now, first thing I did was I had my nephew come up here, and he grabbed a hold of this wire to move it and rip the wires out of the plug. So what good is that? So I got some heavy-duty electrical tape and I put it on there, and that tightened it all up, so it should all be good. Anyways, now that I've opened and closed that thing, on either side of the baler you have this nice little arm, and you just put that, and now I can go back to baling hay because it allows the needles and everything to work. It has a standard safety lock here so that it won't trip that stuffer arm. Because if you're working in there and by some stupid strange accident you actually hit this thing, that'll cut you in half. So you don't really want to do that. This here actually is the pressure for the pre-charge chamber, and that allows you to either put more hay in or less hay in. So if you lighten it up, it'll stroke more. If you tighten it up, it'll stroke less. So that is the baler in a nutshell. Now, of course, this thing just came in here, and my dad is like, hey, let's go mow hay. Well, you know what? I got corn to plant, and I'm not really in the mood to mow hay just yet, but here's the oiler, too. That is on the opposite side. Yeah, and here's another light, but here's one of those plugs. So if you're working in here and you need extra light, you can just go up there and grab that light that's there. They're supposed to be, or the option to have extra lights mounted underneath this frame that goes in there. I do believe I'm going to give them a call and order that package, because I just need I need extra lights. I do work until 2 in the morning sometimes, and the more light the merrier. Now the tractor obviously has a pretty good light package on it, but you know what? A couple more lights will make life a lot easier. The other thing is that they put a longer crank on here for a little more leverage. They changed the pitch of this thing so that you don't chatter like the old one did. The tongue is longer too, so everything is looking really, really sharp. Now there's one thing that I don't like about this pickup header, other than it really is a sharp machine. I don't like the way it drives. I don't like the way it drives that stub auger. The large auger, or the small auger that runs the top, is driven from the other side. The large stub auger is still driven off the reel. Now, anytime you jam this thing up, it puts an extremely large amount of pressure on the reel, which in turn puts pressure on the cam followers and the cam bearings and the center shaft. Well, I think that they should have moved that chain up to here and driven it off of that top shaft, because that is a massive shaft. That pipe is 5 inches or 4 inches across, and then I've got an 1.1/8 shaft there, which is driving literally nothing, whereas the bottom shaft is the same size shaft, but it's driving all the pickup tines and all that hay, plus 2 stub augers. So I'm just not thrilled about that part, and if I do have a problem, I will be changing that. I don't care what New Holland says. I'm going to move that chain, and I'm going to get a sprocket. I'm going to put it up here, even if I have to extend it. I'm going to put it up to that, and I'm going to weld it fast so that it's driven off the top auger. So yeah, here's some more of these plugs, by the way. If you want to have a couple of those lights, you can. I mean, you can plug in all sorts of stuff. You could buy those outlets too, which are pretty simple. This hood here, which you can see, it looks like a gigantic whale's mouth, but this hood is on great big shock absorbers there. These shock mounted things. Watch your fingers, you're going to get them cut off. Now you bring this thing down like so, and then you pull it across. Let me get my hands in there. Boom, that locks the whole entire thing. And then the brake is there. You shove that up, and it is right where it needs to be. Now you have this very impressive looking piece of equipment that is going to bail anything that gets in its way.